right, everybody, welcome inside a Watch DA live in the middle of the night following a wonderful divisional round game, overtime victory by the Rams to send them to the NFC Championship game in Seattle. So glad you're with us on Watch DA live at the Sunday Pig Pile. My friend Robert Turbin is going to join us here on the program coming up here in about 15 minutes from now. My good friend from NFL Radio is going to drop on by, Super Bowl champion as well with the Seattle Seahawks a little over a decade ago. Send us your comments because we love to hear from you guys. We'll do some beam ups towards the end of the show as well. And I've got a Furious 5. As always, we do this on Sunday nights, usually at 7:30 traditionally. But we waited until the late game was over to make sure we could get you updated and instant reaction from that game. Same thing next week, championship weekend. Will be on following the late game. So we have both of our combatants in Super Bowl 60. All right, Ben Spector, let's roll the music for the Furious 5. All right, so here's what I'm thinking about what we just saw. There was an absolutely incredible throw at the end of this game by Caleb Williams that ties the game up and sends it to overtime. And that throw itself is one of the most insane playoff throws you are ever going to see. That play itself, that throw, he's winding backwards, backing all the way up until his own 40-yard line, off his back foot, off balance, throws it, and it's a prayer and a rope for a touchdown. And the place goes absolutely wild. That throw, combined with other plays in this game where he used his legs and his arm and his athleticism, is why the stock is rising right now on Caleb Williams and why Bears fans can believe in so much in such a short amount of time. Caleb Williams grew up from, that doesn't look like the number one overall pick and a prototypical franchise quarterback, to, can you believe this guy's insane assets? However, there is the flip side of Caleb Williams, which is that throw that gets intercepted in overtime and sets up the Rams for the game-winning drive. There is really a good and a bad. There's a giveth and a taketh, and Caleb showed us both of these in that short amount of time. I thought over the course of the game, you saw overthrows. He sailed passes. His accuracy is still not consistent yet. And in that moment, Collinsworth pointed out that he thought DJ Moore was going to break to the outside. He guessed that way. Moore did not, or Moore gave up on the play or whatever. That's really a risk that in that spot, looking just for the game-winning field goal, you really can't afford to take. It's an aggressive, risky throw, and you don't need to be aggressive and risky. He'll learn from that. But what we saw was why Caleb is so enticing right now, and also a play that I think 2 years from now, maybe even next season, Caleb might not throw. He might not take that risk. He might not take that chance. I know that Ben Johnson has been wired to take chances this season, but I thought it was a play that was unnecessary and a moment where, you know what, honestly, there was a better decision to be had. For the Rams, it's a gritty effort. I didn't think they'd play well in the cold. I didn't think they'd play well outside. They ended up finding a way to win. Grittiness and resilience. They're a well-coached team, veteran quarterback, good players like Puka. Kyron Williams is obviously very good. Devontae Adams, the huge catch at the sideline. They've got really good players. Jared Verse is a pass rusher. So they are deserving to go to the NFC Championship game. It'll be a good NFC Championship game, I think. I do not think you're going to see a blowout like we saw last night with the Seahawks. But that game, while it's almost all gravy for the Bears because it was so much so soon for both the organization, for Ben Johnson, for the quarterback, I still think you walk out of that stadium like, God, we could have been still playing. You know, it's right there. And when they tie that thing up at the end of regulation, there is a feeling of the Bears of destiny, that this is what they do. They are cardiac kids. They've find rabbits and pull them out of hats, and they were going to do it again. So good win for the Rams, but that one leaves a scar. That one leaves a mark if you are the Bears, if you're Caleb, if you're Ben Johnson, etc. But at least we got a great game, because last night was a complete dud as the Seahawks ran away from the 49ers. Earlier today was nothing great as well, as we kind of knew the Texans just simply couldn't cobble it together enough offense. So at least we got an instant classic, an overtime game. And that throw, even though in a loss it happens, the throw to tie things up is going to be one that we remember for a long, long time. That is one of the most incredible, wild, insane touchdowns in playoff history. It has to be categorized that way. And the Rams are moving on despite it, with that big boy drive at the end of that game for the win. All right, next up in your Furious Five, let's keep it rolling. It is amazing that the New England Patriots have this type of fortune. It's just amazing. You know, you think in sports that when your team goes on a run and you have a dynasty, that you kind of use up all your puck luck. You use up all of your karma. You know, you look at the Golden State Warriors right now. They had it cooking for so long. They stacked those championships. Everything was coming up Warriors. Steph could never miss. And then Clay would get hot. And it just didn't matter what was going on, because they found their way through every potential piece of turmoil. They were just always, then they get, you know, despite all of the, you know, the accolades they'd already collected and what they looked like, they got Kevin Durant in a 1 year kind of amazing bump in the salary cap. And, you know, they keep stacking hardware. And now you kind of see the price you pay for building dynasties. And the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s, there's a price they paid by the end of the decade for all of their success. They're still seemingly karmically paying for that. Happens to a lot of great teams. It is wild, beyond wild, that the Patriots, who had plenty of luck as well throughout the 2000s and their 20-year run of dominance in the AFC, it is just wild that they're already back. And the bounce of the ball this year in this postseason is just outrageous. I mean, number one, they end up playing the easiest schedule this century. It's not even the easiest schedule this year, but by strength of schedule and opponent's win percentage, is the easiest schedule basically of the last 25 years of the NFL. Okay, so they take advantage of it, and they've hit on their quarterback. For the 1 year they were terrible. They were as a franchise quarterback where they needed him. They got him, and he ends up being a tremendous player. But round one of the playoffs is against a Chargers team that has no offensive line. Round two of the playoffs is against a quarterback that can't throw a forward pass and is missing his starting tackle and his all-pro wide receiver, Nico Collins, who got injured last week. And then round three is going to be against a backup quarterback, which, when has this ever happened? A quarterback has to start in a championship game because the starter was injured the week before. This isn't Nick Foles or even Jeff Hostetler. Those guys had regular season starts. Jarrett Stidham has to start for the first time in an AFC championship game. He's not thrown a pass in 2 years. It just seems impossible that the Patriots keep flipping the quarter and it keeps coming up heads every single time. Like, what are the odds? They would definitely be the underdog going to Denver if Bo Nix was healthy, and instead Bo Nix gets hurt on the second to last play of the game and then a kneel down. Like, what are the odds the starting quarterback gets injured in the kneel down? What are the odds? And what are the odds that a starting quarterback of a 1 seed goes down in the playoffs and the backup quarterback for the first time in 2 years has to throw a pass in a championship game? The Patriots would have been an underdog going to Denver, and instead they open up as a 4.5-point favorite, and I think that line has already moved to 6. You know, you would think karmically they had used up all of the good luck, but I guess you have the Tyree helmet catch, and you have the Mario Manningham catch, and you have a few other things that didn't bounce their way, I suppose. And so even that didn't seem like it was enough to take away from the good luck, the good fortune that the Patriots had. I mean, just getting Tom Brady at 199 should probably erase any good luck you would ever have again after he retires. I guess that's not true. So the Patriots are on to an AFC Championship game where they are Jared Stidham away, a former Patriot, from going to a 10th Super Bowl in this millennium. They are Jared Stidham in front of them away from their 10th Super Bowl since 2001. Going to be a long week, and it'll be a really long 2 weeks if the Patriots are in Super Bowl 60. All right, next up in the Furious Five. Hi, Mr. Downside. The Buffalo Bills and the pain that it must be to continually have to endure these types of painful losses, torturous, outrageous losses, is just an incredible scarlet letter to wear. And last night, after another painful exit and elimination, Bills fans showed up to the airport to welcome back the Buffalo Bills. Now, this is a city that is now 60 years without a championship. Okay, the Buffalo Bills haven't won anything since the 1965 AFL championship. So now we're at 60 years of completing football seasons without a title. And they still are showing up at the airport for that team. Meantime, you'll have a Patriots fan base that is looking forward to their 10th Super Bowl since Y2K. Sports isn't fair. It is not fair. This much is very clear. But the reality of being a Bills fan is just the reality of pain, of wondering if it'll ever be your time. And I didn't like the way the officials handled the interception and the catch, no catch. I think you have to slow down the game there. You have to take your time. I mean, tonight in overtime, we saw them booth review, stop the play, make sure it's a catch. Okay, I think Bills fans could feel a little bit better if there was real care and a pause taken to get that call right. And instead, they race through it. And it just feels like, how come that always goes against us? That's how a Bills fan would feel. And I really do wonder if that was simply because they were in overtime and the NFL wanted to get to the second game. I really wonder if it was serving the television partners at the risk of the quality of the game. You know, we're in overtime. It's bonus play anyway. You know what? We got to get to the late window. There's a game after us. Let's make sure this game is moving along, clicking along. And I just think that's the wrong priority to have there. I am not thrilled with the call itself because, I mean, a same type of play tonight happens where the receiver seems to come down with the ball and it's ripped away on the ground by the defensive back. And tonight it's a catch for Devontae. And yesterday it's an interception for the Broncos. It is not the only reason that the Bills lost. Of course, Josh Allen throws 2 picks, one of which is controversial, the other which is a bad underthrow on a would-be touchdown. He fumbles the football twice. James Cook fumbles the football. There's all types of points left on the field that the Buffalo Bills, will forever have to look in the mirror and ask the question why. But I did a long-form video today here on this YouTube channel about why I thought this elimination was different and why Josh Allen and Deion Dawkins and Brandon Cooks and others were in tears after this game. And I think this is different because they've cornered the market on brutal losses. So it's not like this is the first one. But they haven't always been crying in unison after these playoff losses. I think the weight of this thing with Josh Allen, this era, combined with the weight of the 90s and all of these close but no cigar, torturous ends to seasons have compiled upon themselves. And this year, I think it was such an emotional year, but without the Chiefs in front of them, they allowed themselves to believe it was going to be different. And when it ended up not being different, I think you stare in the mirror at a really dark insecurity. And that is, what if it's not just we can't get over the Chiefs? What if it's we can't get past anybody? That this is not our destiny. And there may have been this moment in your lives where, you had a dream and then suddenly the dream is ripped away and you have to reconcile with, well, I had believed in my heart that this was the way it was going to be, and now it's not. And how do I get through that? Josh Allen loves that fan base so much, and the city loves him so much. And what they pour into him is this want that you are our savior. You are the guy. You've rode in on the white horse to save us. You will be the man that finally delivers the only thing we all care about. And Josh has said, yes, that is me. I want to be that. I love you. And they say, we love you. And there is this really intense bond that Josh Allen and Bills Mafia has. It's much different than a lot of fan bases with their quarterbacks. And people outside of Buffalo can't quite understand that, because you're like, well, Denver loved John Elway and Indianapolis loved Peyton Manning and New York loved Eli Manning and Boston loved Tom Brady. But I'm telling you, it's different, because the weight of dreams of generations is on this one guy. And this one guy is like, yes, I love you. I want to do this for you. And Josh doesn't try to get people fired. He doesn't try to get people traded. He doesn't try to get people drafted. Josh just doesn't do that. And so when he can't deliver, he feels like he has let everybody down. And then the locker room then feels like they let him down. And there is this incredible weight that is on top of their shoulders that builds every year. And it's not that it can't be done. And again, if you're a Bills fan and you want to hear my long form thoughts on this, I did a video earlier in the day on this YouTube channel. It's not that it can't be done, because the Cubs won a World Series and the Red Sox won a World Series. And we have NBA teams that have never won anything. The Nuggets, the Cavaliers, who have won NBA championships in the last decade. And we've got hockey teams like the Lightning and the Panthers that become modern dynasties. And it's not that it can't be done. It's that it gets so hard. It becomes so hard when the weight of the history of this keeps pressing on your shoulders, and you as a player care so much. And I think the weight of this thing has become crushing. And I think you saw the emotional break happen yesterday after that Bills loss. And it's like breaking a family heirloom and going, how do I fix this? Because there is no fix here. It's not like, well, okay, we just got to play better. You can't keep saying that every single year in the same spot and keep believing it, So there just has to be something that provides hope and life and belief. And the Bills are going to have to get real creative in finding that. And the entire organization has to become real creative in finding that this offseason. But seeing all of them cry yesterday spoke to this real heaviness that they carry as a burden to finally get the job done, and another opportunity that did not come to fruition. All right, my good friend Robert Turbin joins us here on the show. Let's welcome him inside Watch DA Live. Hear me with Turbo each and every Sunday morning on NFL Radio Channel 88. Turbo, good morning, good afternoon, and now good night, good evening. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back on the show, man. I couldn't wait to join you tonight. It's always a fun time to get on the show with you. post game. I just got back from Sky Zone, so I'm sorry for the tardiness there. But my son, that's one of his favorite places to go, the little trampoline park. So that's where I was watching the game at tonight.
All right.
With a couple beers, man. So yeah, man. Exciting one tonight, wasn't it?
We set this thing up this morning when we were on NFL radio, and this game tonight lived up to what we were talking about. It was a smash mouth game in the cold weather. Both teams were playing very physically, but that throw that Caleb makes to tie this thing up off back foot, fading away at his own 40-yard line, scrambling back. As a former player yourself, what do you see in that play, and what made that play so wild?
You should see pure greatness. If I, as a player on the sideline, I'm watching the play, and this is what I do. After you just sit back and you just like, dang, how did he make that play? And I've been fortunate to play with some special players now. I talk about Marshawn a lot. I played with Andrew Luck, who was pretty special in his own right. Tony Romo, that spin that he would always get out of when pressure came, from his blind side. But it's those players that after a little while, you kind of get used to it. And you just sit back and you say, he did it again. And that's the first thing that I thought of when I saw Caleb Williams throw that touchdown.
What did you think about the interception? Collinsworth had suggested DJ Moore was supposed to break and didn't. Maybe Caleb was anticipating that. Is that too aggressive of a throw there by Caleb Williams, showing some inexperience? Whose fault is that INT that sets up the game winner for the Rams?
I'm glad you asked this. I want to preface this by saying, we don't know. We weren't in the huddle. Okay, so we don't know exactly the route concept. But the thing that I love about Collinsworth is that he sees everything. Like my dream, I want to be as good as him one day in the booth. He sees everything. You have to run. The thing that is noticeable on that route is that DJ Moore is not running 100%. Why? And Caleb is throwing you the ball? That is, you get cut for plays like that. Those are the type of plays that lead to you having a one-on-one with your head coach and GM in the offseason, and they say, thank you for your services, but we're moving on. You got to run on that play. That's what I saw.
And you're talking about DJ Moore. He's got to run. You thought that he was lackadaisical.
100%. You see the replay, and he is not running full speed. He's not even running 85 to 90%. When you look at it, I'm not saying he's dogging it, but what I am saying is, that you're going to watch that tape and coach is going to say, that's a loaf. Why are you not running? If you need a break, come to the sideline for a play so we can get somebody who can run. Because the thing about that play is, if you watch it, there's a seam and then there's DJ Moore coming across, right? So now what you're doing is you're putting the safety in a bind. Are you going to take the deep seam? Or are you going to take the crossing route, and then Caleb Williams is going to make his decision? But because he's not running, the safety's able to undercut that throw, and DJ Moore's not even he's nowhere in the picture. You're not even in the picture to be able to play defense. Maybe it is a bad throw, but if you're running, how many times in these playoffs have we seen we've seen Puka Nacua do it against the Carolina Panthers? We've seen wide receivers end up having to play defense because of a choice throw by the quarterback. Because DJ Moore's not running, he's not even in a position to do that. So he's got to run. That play to me, I thought Collinsworth was 100% on that. That's on DJ Moore. He's got to run.
So the Rams win. They move on to the NFC Championship game after the Seahawks just bludgeoned the Niners. Do you think the Rams give the Seahawks a better game than San Fran did?
Of course. Of course they do. They're healthy. They got their team. Both games this season that the Rams and Seahawks have played against each other have been just drag out dog fights to the end. They match up against each other well, and it's going to be one hell of a game to watch.
Earlier in the day, C.J. Stroud had himself one of the worst quarterback days you could possibly have, and he has really significantly regressed since his rookie season. What'd you see today with how poorly he played?
He just looked uncomfortable. And then it felt like he lost his confidence at some points of the game. I think the Texans, they're in a tough spot here because, C.J. Stroud is a high draft pick, but I don't know if he's gotten any better from his rookie season. I think a lot of us could agree that there's been, even if it's slight, some regression there. Maybe it's because Bobby Slowick's not there anymore as the offensive coordinator. I don't know, but the Texans have to be very careful about how they approach their future because they obviously have the right head coach and they've got the personnel on defense. And I think for the most part, they've got some good players on offense, but you got to make sure you're right at quarterback. And the worst thing you can do is settle because of politics, because he was drafted at X spot in the first round, or because he's getting paid, X amount of dollars. All right, and our salary cap is being hit. You have to make decisions personnel wise that you feel like is going to be best for your future. And I think Houston, they got to think real deep about if they feel like C.J. Stroud is going to continue to be that quarterback for them.
For sure. When it comes to this AFC Championship game, Jarrett Stidham has to throw his first pass of the season in an AFC title game against a very good Patriots defense. The Patriots open up as significant favorites in this game. Is there any reason to believe that Sean Payton can coach up the backup QB to actually win the AFC Championship game?
No, man, there isn't. This sucks, okay? Let's just be honest, all right? No disrespect to Jarrett Stidham and the Broncos, all right? But this absolutely sucks, okay? This is supposed to be, Drake May versus Bo Nix, two young guns, man, going at it to try to get to their first Super Bowl. It's crazy. I don't want to discredit or discount or disrespect Jarrett Stidham. He's a hard-working player. That's why he's still in the league, okay? If he wasn't hard-working and if he didn't practice his butt off and work his butt off, all right, in the offseason, he wouldn't be in this position, all right? And he certainly wouldn't be trusted by a guy like Sean Payton. So we got to give him a chance because of that. But listen, I just – maybe he proves us all wrong. But this, to me, is easily Patriots punching their ticket to the Super Bowl.
Interesting. Well, I know it's been a long day for you. We woke up early to do Sunday NFL Tailgate. We'll be doing that the next 3 Sundays on NFL Radio Channel 88, so make sure you are locked in because Turbo and I break down everything from the playoffs every single Sunday throughout the postseason, but we did in the regular season, obviously, as well. This is season 2 between the two of us. But also, Turbo, you can follow him on social media and check out his takes and his thoughts and everything in the football world. And he's joined us multiple times this football season, which we love. The comments are always all about Turbo. I get so many cool tweets about our show on Sunday. So I love you, brother. I appreciate you jumping on here tonight. It's been a long day, so I'll let you get going. But thanks so much, man. And I hope that Santo Tequila was delivered in good health this holiday season.
It's already gone. It don't last long when it don't last long when it gets to the house. I'm just gonna tell you right now. That's how good it is.
Okay.
I had to bring out. Listen, I don't usually wear the Seahawks swag. I had to pull it out today just because I'm in Cali. I might walk by some 49er fans.
Nice.
Just nice and subtle. Just boom. I even keep the jacket covered. I just might just do one like this.
Very nice. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you.
All right,
thanks so much. All right, man. Robert Turbin joining us here on the show tonight. Awesome to get him here on the program. And it's been such a fun football season. If you've enjoyed our guests, our insiders, our former players, our writers and broadcasters, media insiders, make sure you give a subscribe on the YouTube channel. If you're watching on Instagram Live or on X, make sure you get to the YouTube channel and hit subscribe under me. That way you are not only subbed and you get full, fresh football videos every single day, and that's through the offseason. There will be a football video every single day of the offseason as well, I promise you. But also, you are in the running for our Santo giveaway, which is a huge giveaway. We've got 2 big deck chairs and a fire pit from Santo that we're giving away to 1 lucky subscriber. But you have to be a subscriber on the YouTube channel, so make sure you're a sub there, and then you're automatically entered into the contest. So there you go. And Colin says, that a boy, Turbo. Hit that tequila. That's right. Turbo is just one of the best. He's one of the coolest guys I've ever worked with. He's such a pro. He's a good dude. He's a friend of mine. We've really, really had a tremendous relationship on air and off air as well. And, anytime I say, hey, you want to jump on, he's always, yep, I'm down. And he's just got a great football mind as well. So I appreciate him so much. I know you guys do as well. And really cool to have him here on the show after we began our day together, now ending our day together. And that was really cool to have him jump on the program. All right, next up in the Furious Five, let's continue with the takes. All right, next up. The Seahawks became a machine against the 49ers. And I think they turned into this machine late in this season. And now they're firing on all cylinders. They're an incredibly balanced team. And now they have this confidence of, as long as we do what we know we can do, we can destroy. This matchup with the Rams is fascinating because they've played twice this year, obviously, as division foes. They know each other, familiarity. And the last time that they played was that epic one-point affair where the Rams nearly squeaked it out, but Seahawks 2-point conversion ends up being the difference in the game. But it was a great game and a high-scoring game. So we might get the same thing. But the Seahawks, I think, have gotten even better since that game. And it's amazing that because Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet can run the football so well, we got to track Charbonnet's injury this week. But because they can run the football so well, it allows Sam Darnold to not have to put the entire team on his back. And, we were talking about Josh Allen and how he wears so much, not only pressure and history and the cause, but also the offense is so much on his back. And Sam Darnold's the opposite. They don't go into games saying, Sam, you've got to be Superman. You've got to save us, which has really allowed Sam to play his best football he's ever played. But he's also got a number one, something the Bills also don't have. The Seahawks have Jackson Smith and Jigba. So you have a tremendous running duo. You've got a smart quarterback. You've got a great wide receiver one, and you've got an elite defense along with a really good young head coach and home field advantage. The Seahawks know if we do what we do, we will destroy. And I'm really interested to see the mentality coming up against the Rams, because the one thing that can neutralize a team's confidence is a division foe. We just passed the 15-year anniversary, I believe it was, January 2011, when the Jets went to Foxborough and the Patriots looked unbeatable. Patriots were 14-2. They were on an 8-game win streak. They had not lost at home the entire season, and they had dismantled the Jets 45-3 a month earlier. Jets came in as a wild card and somehow shocked the world and beat them. That was the Bart Scott can't wait game. Division foes end up providing a much different recipe than a non-division foe where you don't face each other very often. So that may bring things a little closer together. But I will add, the Niners were a division foe, and it didn't quite matter. The Seahawks right now are just a machine, and let's see if it continues, and Sam Darnold might find himself in a Super Bowl before all of the other guys in his draft class, including Josh Allen, unbelievably. All right, finally in the Furious Five. There is a deafening type of question that everybody inside the Texans organization has to ask themselves and has to ask each other. Are we going to give CJ Stroud that max extension, which so many young quarterbacks get as long as they show any type of positive growth, success, or winning? With CJ Stroud at the helm, the Texans have gone to the playoffs 3 consecutive years. With CJ Stroud at the helm, they won a road playoff game this year. With CJ Stroud, they have been a really interesting young team. But what we saw last week was they won in spite of their quarterback. And what we saw against the New England Patriots was a guy in over his skis. Lacking confidence, lacking accuracy, and lacking judicious decision-making. Once you throw your first pick, and you know how elite your defense is, once you throw your first pick, it has to be, okay, I'm not going to put my defense in a bad spot again. So I will only make safe throws. And if I am going to test this defense, I'm going to test them deep so that if it is picked off, it's picked off way downfield, or maybe I draw a pass interference flag down there. CJ Stroud was just chucking it underneath and into coverage, into double coverage to the opposing team, taking unreasonable shots when he's clearly not comfortable and not confident. You simply cannot win playoff games with that type of quarterbacking and that type of decision-making. And that elite defense deserved better. That elite defense, they didn't need, Dan Marino in his prime. They just needed something credible under center instead of what they got from CJ Stroud. Will Anderson is going to be a beast for a long time. DeMeco Ryans is going to have a great defense for a long time. What they have to decide is it worth it to give CJ Stroud all that cash? Because you could have Matt Schaub do that. You could have Brian Hoyer do that. You can have any number of former Texans quarterbacks do that. Derek Carr, go down to David Carr, rather. What CJ Stroud did was throw them out of a game. But you don't have to pay a guy to do that. And that is a looming, seismic type of question. The Dolphins gave it to Tua, and it blew up in their face. They saw a little bit of growth. They saw a little bit of success and said, it's better to have the guy than not have the guy. And now look. You got to be really careful with that contract and CJ Stroud and what he put on tape end of this season, most of the season, but specifically in the postseason, was ghastly. And Collinsworth brought this up in Aikman brought this up in the broadcast. CJ has not matched his rookie success, and he needs to look in the mirror and ask the question why, and there's reasons for it, and he has to have the answers. And we don't know the reasons, but he's got to find them, or that team's got to find them, or else they got to say, we've got to move on. He might be throwing himself out of an NFL contract. All right, that is your Furious Five. And as always, here on the show, we like to get you guys involved as well. So I love seeing all you guys in the comment section, even on a late night like this. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you are in here. And we do this every single Sunday night, usually at 7:30 Eastern time. But during these late game playoff kickoffs, wanted to be here after the game to break that down. So that's why we're on late tonight, and we'll do that again next week after the late championship game as well. So a lot of you guys weighing in on the Caleb Williams throw and his play and how all over the place that game was, especially late. Obviously, it wasn't enough because he throws the interception and the Rams end up going to the NFC Championship game. A lot of people annoyed that the Patriots being gifted a Super Bowl opportunity is happening, and I can understand why. For so many fans who are desperate for one Super Bowl appearance, Lions fans, Browns fans, Bills fans, Jaguars fans, here are the Patriots who get a backup quarterback and would go to their 10th Super Bowl since 2000. It's tough to stomach. I know. Tough to stomach. Good to see that you guys think I'm looking good over here. Christian in Buffalo weighs in on Buffalo and what was going on yesterday, which has just got to be absolutely heartbreaking, obviously. Puka is candidate for MVP, so says some of the comments in here, like Colin and Ruben as well. And he was a beast this year. And again tonight, the huge first down move of the chains of that game-winning drive that sets up the game-winning field goal. And, it looks like, as good as his season was, it's going to be a quarterback because it's always a quarterback. But Puka, despite all those distractions that he had late in the season and going against his coach's wishes and teammates' wishes, he still is obviously a really valuable part of this team, and they'll need a huge game out of him and Stafford to be able to come out of Seattle with a victory. So as always, appreciate you guys weighing in here in the comment section. Great to see you guys. And before we get out of here, because I got to get to bed because I am up in the morning for SiriusXM's DA and Babs, Channel 82, Mad Dog Sports Radio, weekday morning starting at 6 a.m. Eastern time. It's always good to get your Little Mo laugh of the day in here. And so, Ben, why don't we do this? Your laugh of the day comes to us ahead of tomorrow night's national championship game. I'm on record in saying that Indiana is going to smash Miami. I don't think there's any way the Hurricanes can win this football game. And Hoosiers fans clearly feel the same way because this is video from a flight to Miami where Hoosiers fans were on board.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is John, and I like to have fun everywhere I go. I'm going to the national championship game. This won't be the greatest flight of my life if I can't get a Hoosier Riley cry out of you guys. At least some of you. All right? And it sounds like this. Hoosiers! All right? Now, if you're rooting for Miami, find me after the game, and I'll buy you a beer to drown your sorrows. All right? But on three, I need you to say it loud. I need you to say it proud. I may or may not be a little drunk. I'll leave that up to your imagination. All right? But on three, you heard it. Say it loud and proud. 1, 2, 3. Hoosiers! Thank you! Yes!
Hoosiers fans are feeling good on flights, offering to buy drinks and doing their chants. And it'll be a wild night tomorrow night if at the end of it we are saying the college football national champions are the Indiana Hoosiers. Never thought I'd see the day. So, Little Mo would have loved a guy on a plane making everybody do chants. That's definitely right in his wheelhouse. That's going to do it for us on tonight's edition of Watch DA Live. As I mentioned before, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. That way you are in the running for the Santo Great Gift Giveaway. And because we have football videos every single day of the offseason, draft videos and combine capsules and free agency and coaching decisions and all that type of stuff is obviously part of the offseason. And now it's the offseason for so many around the NFL. But there are 4 teams left, and we'll be all over it all week long. And, of course, next week as well when we go live after both games are finished. Thanks to executive producer Ben Spector. Thanks to you guys for hanging out with me on a late Sunday night. Again, I'll see you tomorrow morning on SiriusXM Channel 82. Love you. Appreciate you. Be good and be good to one another. The mothership disconnects.